Youseehim has asked me to review his CT side on Dust2. Now he is playing with 4 other players that he knows, so he is in a 5 stack as we like to call it. So you would expect higher levels of coordination than, when you solo queue. So the common things that I see that Youseehim and his, I guess his friends and team can work on are, pretty simple things like just buying together, when to save guns, how to position yourself, a lot of just unnecessary aggression that could literally cost them the rounds. Sometimes they make the bad play, a lot of times, and it works out for them, but besides, the obvious things just like deathmatch and aiming better and that kind of things, they really need to coordinate better as a team, just on the basics before we get into, strats and stuff like that. So on the pistol round, his teammate actually decides to rush B tunnels, which is really strange, and he could have easily right here gotten killed, and 5 terrorists could have stormed into site B and they would have lost the round. I realize there's another teammate outside of B, but once the terrorists have control of B, it's really hard to get control of that site B again. On this round, you're going to see the same thing from his teammate, and what you're going to see is his teammate decides to push B, which could again cost him the whole round. Armors and Tech 9s are no joke. If this guy, if they throw a flash through that smoke and both of you get blinded, just because you were looking right at the smoke and not away, then it's pretty easy for the terrorists to win this round if your teammate gets binked in the head through the smoke and they storm in. So I really don't like your teammate running in the smoke here, and this could easily have costed you the round. The other super important thing to know in this round is it's the round after the terrorists lost the pistol round. So if they get a plant, some of the opposing team members on the next round are going to be able to buy AKs and armor. And you guys don't actually make any note that some of the players on the terrorist side didn't buy anything this round. And so you really need to pay attention to what the opposing team buys on this round, because that's going to make a huge difference, especially if they get a bomb plant. So how does it work? So if you get a bomb plant as terrorist and you lose the round, you get a net extra $800, which is enough to, buy you that armor or an AK or, a reasonable buy. So in this round, you should be expecting them to have AKs. I realize, at the demo it's pretty obvious that they're buying AKs, but you should know this just because they planted the bomb and lost, and some of them only had Glocks. So you should definitely be off of the UMP at this point. Same with your teammates, right? They're only on Bison and, SMGs and that kind of thing. You really need to be full buying at this point whenever you see that kind of setup. So you end up losing this round, which is, I guess okay. But the big mistake in this round is for some reason you don't buy your teammate a FAMAS when you have the money to do that. So, you decide to buy an M4, but you've actually got enough money to buy your teammate a FAMAS. Now he knows he's going up against AKs, so I don't know why he's buying SMGs. Your teammates really need to prefer the P250 whenever they're going up against armored targets with flashbangs and stuff like that, or P250 in armor if they prefer. So on this round you have no teammates spotting mid, so there could easily be an opera posted on mid and he could pick you off right here because you're not at all looking. So this is a really dangerous move what you did crossing mid. And at the same time, you should be sitting back waiting for the terrorist to cross, and you sit in this position that really exposes yourself, and this is really unnecessary. Something I'm noticing is that you guys play really aggressive on rounds that you shouldn't, and on eco rounds when you can take perhaps more gambles, you guys play it pretty safe. So always take that into consideration. It's always a legit move to play more aggressive or have strange setups on eco rounds, because you're taking a gamble anyways. They're going to have guns, you're going to have pistols. There's no sense in always playing default. So you guys ended up losing that round, which is kind of expected as you'd imagine. And on this round, you guys kind of muster together a buy. Again, I don't like the SMGs from your teammate Cheeseburger and Vinegar. It'd be much better if you had, a P250 or a Deagle or, something that would give them a lot better of a chance rather than, an SMG. Something that you need to know is that the angle you're about to play here, this is a really bad angle. If there's an opera there, you're just dead. So I really don't like that angle. So whenever, even before you get to this point, you should have already flashed over, then peek, not, peek, maybe get off, and then flash over, then peek again. Doesn't make any sense. So flash over, then peek. That way you're not going to get opped maybe so easily. So, you know, your team just ends up getting traded here and you guys don't do so well. And at this point, you're doing the right play here. You need to save that AK. That's a big deal maker. Or, it's a huge factor in helping you guys in future rounds. So in this round, round 22, you guys just need to save. Doing half buys is a surefire way to destroy your economy. Again, your teammates keep buying SMGs. I'd rather you guys buy more P250s, Deagles and that kind of thing. Batman literally has no money because he bought a P90. So you've really, you've defeated yourself by doing this weird buy. So in the future, try to coordinate your buys and make sure that you're going to be able to buy guns, on the rounds that you are intending to buy. So your economy is messed up this round because, some of your teammates just didn't buy correctly. You've got, everybody's got an M4 except for Batman, and that actually ends up hurting you guys tremendously because now you have a guy with a scout in the middle against, ops and scouts and AKs and stuff like that. I realize, we're seeing this gun over here. We don't see a lot of that in the higher ranks, but, just try to keep your buys a little more cohesive and you guys will have a lot more success. So even though you guys end up winning this round, you guys went 2-on-4 to, magically take the round. Now this is a bad play because statistically, 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose this round 2v4 with the bomb down. So it really doesn't make a lot of sense for you guys to do this kind of play. It does work out for you now, but like I said, just because you make a bad play and it works out, that doesn't mean it's the correct play. And we see that you guys do get the round. So you guys are now starting to play a lot more passively, which is good, but it'd be better if you just played like this from the get-go. So 2v3, I would take this engagement if you guys can get a couple frags. And at this point, yeah, you see your teammate gets picked, and now it becomes, yeah, let's save this gun, let's not go for it. And you do make the correct play, you save the weapon. On round 25, I really like what you bought here. You bought yourself a mag, but what I don't like at all is your teammates still on USPs. At the very minimum, you could drop them P250s because that pistol will one-shot kill if they're really close up, and then you'll have a chance to get AKs and maybe possibly overturn the round. So rather than, if your teammates don't have enough money to buy P250s, maybe you could buy them P250s, and rather than, just you have the mag, everybody would have, some kind of chance to kill the opponent. You just gotta set yourself up with the right weapons when you can actually afford it. So right here, I like how you drop the mag. I would have preferred if you maybe rushed a little more aggressively because you have to get really close for that mag to do anything. Instead, if you kind of, you'd play it slow and, they kind of slowly pick you apart. So again, on this round, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You guys are buying SMGs against AKs and stuff like that. It's really not going to work out too well. You could argue that the P90 is somewhere maybe a viable gun, but all the MP7s and MP9s and stuff like that, it really just has no place against AKs. If you're gonna save, go for Deagles if you're really gonna go for that, or P250s, and then buy proper guns when you can. So on this round, I would have actually played a lot more aggressively in hopes that I could, down a terrorist to get my teammate a weapon, because they're on SMGs and stuff, they're not gonna have a chance. So that's why the risk to reward's a lot higher here for you to push B tunnels or lower tunnels or something like that to be able to get your teammates guns, because that would really give you a chance to overturn the round into your favor. Instead, you guys played it very safe, and so whenever, I like to think of it this way, whenever the situation is favored against you, highly favored against you, that's when risks are more rewarded, because you're not expected to win anyways. So here, whenever the opposing team is in the bomb site, you manage to get a couple kills, but I would have preferred if you had, just held some angles, take some shots, and fallen until your team actually got into position so you could all execute together. Instead, you all kind of, trail in one after the other, and they pick you apart. What's really good is to set up with flashbangs, throw them in, and some smokes and mollies perhaps, and then go and try and retake the site, rather than, try to get the one-off pick here and there. On this round, you hold this angle, which I really don't like. Someone could peek from that Xbox, bink you in the head, and that's it. They have complete mid control. What's better is to kind of peek in and out if you do need to peek at all, or throw a flashbang over the top wall, which I'll show you at the end of this, to give yourself a little more of an advantage. So you're just standing like a statue. You could have easily died 100 times here. You're just very lucky that they didn't pick you off. Something that happens again and again is you guys keep getting op through the doors at middle. I would forego or not buy face armor or head armor and throw a smoke middle so you guys can cross safely, or perhaps a lot safer than, you know, what you guys are doing here. You're basically running across mid. Your teammate actually gets tagged, and this is easily preventable. So really work on, you know, smoking that middle if you know that the opposing team has ops. Your team has a lot of problems holding long control, and you're always in the situation where you have to take back long. So I'm going to show you some stuff that can help you out with long A on Dust 2. So an easy flash for someone setting another teammate up at long is to come against this corner, line up with this thing right here, and just left click the grenade. What happens with that is it lands up here where it can blind the enemy and not so much your teammate, because he's not even looking at it unless he's looking up for some reason, but even then that roof is blocking it, right? So you would never get blinded. So it's a really good flash to set up your teammate. A really powerful smoke for the players playing long A is for someone to jump up here, line up, see this line here? See in the texture? So you line that up with the bottom of the orange thing, alright? And you just left click. And what that's going to do is it's going to smoke off long A. So whenever the opposing team tries to take long A, it's going to be a lot harder. Now know that that smoke takes a bit of time to go off. So what's, you know, really good on top of that is to use the other flashbang I mentioned. But you can also just flash over, and I flashed myself there, but you know, flash over, and you know, maybe they'll back up when they get blinded from, you know, some flash that you throw off that. So on the middle on Dust 2, I was seeing a lot of you standing like right here or right here. Now that's a really dangerous position. What I like to do instead is, if I'm playing the site B or playing in the middle, I like to have two flashes. So what I can do is I can throw a flash off this, wait for it to go off, and then peek. Now this flashbang will blind, you know, a lot of people pretty quickly, or at the, you know, worst case scenarios they turn and then they have to you know, spin around again, and then you could peek after that flashbang goes off, and frequently what you'll see is it'll catch a lot of people off guard. Especially even oppers, because you know, they're zoomed in and they're trying to gun you down. So in Site B you play a lot of this position pretty much every round. I would highly recommend for you to change it up. You know, there's that position, there's this position where you can kind of play. You know, if you're playing with an op, you know, this can be super powerful. You can also play it, you know, two people in the door, one person mid, depending on how you want to play it. But you know, try to change it up, not do the same thing every single round. One round you were basically just standing here and spraying at the enemy. That's a really risky position. There's a lot of alternatives to that. So I like to stand behind this thing right here, and what that allows me to do, first of all, this thing is bulletproof, right? So if you shoot and miss, they're going to miss you. But even another interesting thing you can do, if I can get it, is you can stand on this thing, and it's really not a place that a lot of terrorists come out looking. So you can, you know, take a shot then drop down. So you can stand up here. Oops. What do you line up with? You can stand up here, take your shot, and fall down. So what I like to do whenever, you know, the terrorists have smoked this off, right, and they're coming in the site, a very easy grenade that you can do is you stand around here, right, with the border. You line up with this antenna and you just left click, and what that's going to do is it's going to nade this area. So a lot of times people are coming up here, and this nade is like perfectly right on the mark. You can also do similar things with Molotovs and stuff like that. So you let them cross, you throw Molotovs and grenades up into the site, and suddenly they're super weak. Then it's, you know, a lot easier to retake rather than just running out dry, which is, you know, without flashbangs and grenades. So I hope I've given you enough points and things to focus on, especially in terms of economy, playing passive, playing a little smarter, maybe using grenades a little more effectively, and that, you know, you guys are able to improve your game from, you know, MG. Thanks a lot.